College Corner.
All right, if you've listened to the first 49 episodes of this show, you know that I reside in the state of Michigan, and the two teams on a collision course for each other this Sunday, Michigan and Michigan State, have their final tune-up before that game tonight. Michigan State hosts Rutgers, and Michigan is on the road at Iowa. I thought it'd be fun to just jump into the game predictions hub for both of these. We do have a best bet in one of them. That's the one we'll start in. It's Michigan State and Rutgers. So if you don't mind screen sharing for us here, we'll just take a closer look at exactly what the Dimers model predicts tonight. The line is Michigan State minus 20.5, and that's where the best bet comes in. We project a 22-point victory for Michigan State. That's a decent probability of 54% and an edge of 2.2%. Not as large as some others on the slate tonight, but it's good enough for me. If you're unfamiliar with Michigan State senior nights, let me tell you about them. They are one of the only programs in all of college basketball that chooses to do their senior night festivities after the final home game instead of before the final home game. That is a Tom Izzo specialty. It is entirely designed to force his team to deliver and play great and just get to those moments they want to have. Not only is it beneficial in terms of trying to win games and create large scoring margins, but also Michigan State lets each of their seniors kiss the floor. And Tom Izzo subs them out one by one in order to do so. You can really only do that if you have such a sizable lead that you don't have to worry about spending 3 minutes of the final portion of the game kind of bringing in your walk-ons in order to get them a chance to do that. So it sounds extravagant because it is quite extravagant, but I'm telling you from watching this program for 20 plus years under Tom Izzo, they often find a way to do it. You've got to back Michigan State on senior night. And Rutgers is an opponent that is completely overmatched here. Somehow, some way, in Piscataway, these teams did meet once earlier this year, went to overtime, and Michigan State played one of their worst games of the season. So if you are a spot better, I think you should recognize Michigan State will have their full attention fully focused for this Rutgers opponent that they laid a stinker for in the first matchup. But there isn't much on the basketball profile that leads you to believe Rutgers will have any success offensively. For that reason, I do have Michigan State minus 20.5 on my card. I think you can see this senior class get it out to hopefully a 30-point lead and then get to see the festivities take over for Tom Izzo. I want to turn to the Michigan-Iowa game next. This one should be a little bit more competitive, and there is no best bet, or at least there wasn't at the time of preparation for this show, that pulled a large enough edge to show on the best bets page. However, the closer we get to game time here, I actually see the probability and the edge rising for the over at 145.5. And I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up pulling as a best bet by the time we get to game time based on the way this is trending right now. This is going to be a stylistic contrast between one of the slowest teams in all of college basketball in Iowa and one of the most frantically paced Michigan Wolverines teams that you can find in the sport. It's really one of those things when a team this slow plays a team this fast. It all comes down to the early portion of the game. If Michigan is able to pull ahead early in the game, use their athleticism, their size, and overwhelm an Iowa team that is really limited in both those areas, I think you're going to see Michigan force their will, get out and run, get stops. And Iowa, at that point, if they have to play from behind, it doesn't really benefit them to slow the game down and play the way they want to play. At an 8.5-point spread, as you can see, our model leans that Iowa has a slight probability edge to cover there, but it's a negative edge to actually bet it at the sports books. So I think that's probably dialed in. I don't think I would touch the spread at 8.5, but I do think it's likely over the course of 40 minutes at some point, Michigan is able to create a lead, and Iowa will not be able to just drag the pace down to a halt like they normally like to play. If Bennett Sturts has to play from behind, he is offensively gifted enough to find ways to score against a Michigan defense that keep in mind, just lost LJ Kaysen, their backup point guard, their best perimeter defender. It's going to put pressure on Elliot Cadeau, the starting point guard for Michigan, to stay on the floor, avoid some of those boneheaded fouls he's been known for. I really love this over in general, but I love it especially if Elliot Cadeau finds foul trouble, because then you're going to see Michigan go to their bench. Going to their bench has not affected their offense really at all this year. It has at times affected their defense, and I think you can see a freshman like Trey McKinney or even Roddy Gale struggle with the Bennett Sturts assignment. So for me, it's the over 145.5, 55% probability, and as that edge continues to rise, don't be surprised if you do see it in the best bets page for college hoops tonight. And then Michigan State minus 20.5 is also my favorite against the spread play tonight.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. What's your early line for Sunday?
Ooh, I think it's going to be Michigan minus 8.5. That's my guess. We shall see. But I'll be in the building for that one. Should be fun.
Awesome.
Actually, Dave, before we wrap College Corner, could I ambush you? Could we look at the props page for just a moment?
Certainly. Say less.
I was sorting through this a little bit earlier because there are a bunch of great player projections and props the same way our NBA model works for college hoops. And we don't talk about this nearly as much as we do with NBA, quite frankly, because the sports books offer significantly less player props with college basketball. It's very hit or miss what will be available to bet. But I actually want to look at that very top probability player prop that you see right on the screen right now. Cam Maniawu for Iowa, under 6.5 total rebounds. Enormous probability here. It is minus 150 odds with MGM. Of course, that is some juice. I don't love that number as much as I'm sure you don't love that number. But when you think about this matchup, it's a smash spot. Cam is an undersized forward for Iowa. Their entire front court is undersized. This Michigan trio of bigs between Yaxel Lendeberg, Adai Mara, and Merez Johnson is just absolutely dominant against even the best bigs in the sport. They're massive. They go 7'3", 6'11", 6'10" in those front court spots. And you look at what Michigan was able to do. I'll single out Illinois as the example. That was their most recent game. Illinois grades out as an elite rebounding team, the number one team in average height in all of college basketball are the Illini. They go 7 foot everywhere, and they still did not hold up nearly as well on the boards as they normally do. Tomislav Ivisic, their 7'1" center, only had 4 rebounds in that game. If he couldn't find success against the Michigan front court, I just don't think I can picture a world where Maniawu does. I think 4.2 as a projection feels spot on. Even that might be a little bit rosy if Michigan executes the way I expect them to. So it's very rare you see a 66% probability at a spread, even minus 150 in terms of price. I wish it was minus 110, but at minus 150, I won't complain. You still get a 6% edge.
Yeah, I fall into this trap sometimes, where I have odds that I'm like, I just don't touch this on a straight. It's my personal feeling. It may not be the smartest thing. It really kind of depends how you approach betting, but a general rule is if the bet is good, if you like the bet, if the matchup is right, if the data says it, you should worry less about the odds. Because over time, every little win helps. So, not necessarily the worst thing. If you can find 5.5, you're going to get really good odds and probably a great play. Still 1.3 under projection under the line. So very good.
Yep. And make sure you sportsbook shop. In the NBA world, that means you're price shopping. In the college hoops world, that means you're just looking for the props, because you cannot find Cam and Yahoo under rebounds with a DraftKings or with a FanDuel, the last that I checked. But shout out to MGM for offering that market tonight. So, all right, there we have it. Make sure you subscribe to the Dimer Sports Betting Podcast. With college hoops, especially when we do this show, there's only a few hours until these games tip. You want to get those notifications as quickly as you can when we drop a new episode. And every comment helps us continue to grow this show.